This is Bob Tucker at the Oklahoma State Chamber of Commerce meeting at Fountainhead State Lodge, November the 12th, 1971. The next speaker will be that of the Honorable John P. Olsson, Deputy Under Secretary of the United States Department of Transportation in Washington, D.C.
Swimming champion, and the Aggies' reply was, "That's easy. He was just running for a touchdown. I was running for my life." And I think undoubtedly that's going to be the case this coming Thanksgiving Day when both teams are really going to be running for their lives. Before looking ahead to where we are going in transportation, I thought it would be interesting to look back somewhere at where we have been and take the perspective of that point as a takeoff point. If you go back to the point of 1889, the year of the famous Oklahoma land rush, and ask yourself the question, what was the state of the art that year? Well, there were several things that occurred in transportation. That saw the introduction of the first free transcontinental rail service. It was the year that the automatic elevator was introduced. It was the year of the modern-day bicycle. I say that the kind that you and I had with the back pedal. Not the case today with the 10-gear models and handbrakes and stripe down the fender and so on. But we're still using some of those innovations, and I think we're going to see, particularly in the area of trains, continued use for those as some of the areas in this country grow. But I think this type of activity begins to pale when you look at some of the developments that have occurred, the jumbo jets that are coming in, the men on the moon, and that type of travel. The point of this is twofold. First, to show how relatively primitive transportation technology was at that point of time, and two, to stress how important transportation was to the growth and development of Oklahoma and the nation. Without transportation, the frontiers of this nation could never have been opened. Much less could the country have grown and prospered to the point that in 1889, after the Oklahoma rush, the federal government could proclaim the frontier officially ended. Transportation is the lifeline of this nation. It shapes our history, and it underlies our economic growth and our way of life today. And we've come a long way in the past 82 years. Look at your own state of Oklahoma. You have over 10,000 miles of excellent highways, including 3 interstate highways. Our transportation system, particularly our interstate highways, have given the American people a greater mobility and freedom of movement than any other people on earth. Although the interstates were originally conceived as a system to connect our major cities and regions for national defense purposes in the 1950s, the 42,500-mile interstate system, which is now about 75% complete, has had a greater impact on the overall development of our economy and way of life than any other transportation innovation since the advent of the railroads opening up the West back in the late part of the latter century. Although accounting for only about 1% of our total highway mileage, interstates carry 20% of total traffic. In a recent issue of Fortune magazine, former White House advisor Daniel Patrick Moynihan stated that future generations will almost certainly judge the interstate system to have had more influence on the shape and development of American cities and employment than any initiative of the middle third of the 20th century. I think if you look at the use patterns on your own and the growth that has occurred on your own interstate system here in Oklahoma, you get a good idea of the impact that this has had throughout the country. I might also digress for a minute to say, to put in a commercial, so to speak, the state of Oklahoma is very important to the Department of Transportation, and particularly so to our Federal Aviation Administration, which is part of the department. In that regard, as you perhaps know, we do have the Aeronautical Training Center at Oklahoma City. This center carries out a wide variety of functions relating to civil aviation in this country. The training center there currently has about 1,500 students in attendance. These students receive training as air traffic controllers, as flight inspectors, and as maintenance and engineering specialists for a new generation of air navigation facilities. At a second facility, the Civil Aeronautical Institute, research is carried out in such areas as crash safety, survival techniques, interior design of planes, medical hazards, and problems for both pilots and passengers. Also associated with the center is the Department's Transportation Safety Institute, where training is given not only to air safety inspectors, but also to those inspectors in the area of highways and rail. All in all, the center carries out functions not only extremely crucial to the present operation of our air transport system, but also to its future. Now, in addition to the Aeronautical Center at Oklahoma City, the FAA operates a management training school in Lawton, Oklahoma. using part of the facilities of Cameron State College, the school teaches a 3-week training course which is mandatory for all FAA supervisors and middle management staff. Coming back to your own transportation facilities here in the state, I think the most noteworthy development, of course, is the Arkansas River Project. I was chatting with Mr. Bailey here during the luncheon, and he gave me quite a background on the sort of industrial activity that's envisioned to occur as a result of this facility. I understand that ultimately about 12 to 13 million tons of cargo are expected, serving petroleum, metals, coal, wheat, and fertilizers. They've estimated the savings that will accrue as a result of this facility amounting to over $40 million a year. And I think that has a significant impact, or will have, on the economic development in this area. I think the size and complexity of Oklahoma's transportation system is probably representative of what we have in the national system. And in that regard, transportation and its related activities is the nation's biggest business. It accounts for approximately 20% of the annual gross national product, or about $200 billion in a total economy of close to $1 trillion. So that's the present. Our transportation technology has progressed more in this century than the total of man's progress prior to 1900. It wasn't until the 1880s that a vehicle was developed that could top 100 miles per hour. That was a improved steam engine. Now men travel to the moon in several days. The development of this nation, both economically and socially, has been and continues to be based on transportation. Our present system capacity is vast, and as I mentioned earlier, its impact is equal to about 1/5 of our total GNP. Now, what about the future? If this nation continues at its present rate of growth and economic expansion, our forecast indicates that by 1990, we will need twice as much transportation capacity as we presently have. That is to say, if you want to use the reference point of 1989, the 100-year anniversary of the Oklahoma run, this state and the nation must actually double its transportation capacity. That means we must add as much transport capacity in that period of time as has been developed over our entire history. Now, I think the question is, how do you go about achieving this growth and ensuring that our transportation system will be equal to the load it must bear? I'm sure that everybody here would agree when I say that the most obvious way to achieve this growth, which would be simply a doubling of what we have. But I'm sure everybody would also agree that would be a very unwise way to proceed, both in terms of the investment required and in terms of its impact on the environmental scene. I think the question is, how do you go about doing this? What Secretary Volpe, the Secretary of the Department of Transportation, is doing is taking several new directions in the future planning for the transportation area. I can sum these new directions up in about 3 key words: technology, safety, and environment. It is our belief in the department that the best, most economical, and safest way to double our capacity is to concentrate on doubling not the level of facilities and equipment, but the efficiency of these facilities and equipment. Now the goal to increase efficiency takes several different directions. However, it does take shape throughout all of the department's programs, and that is to develop innovations in technology which enable us to do twice as much without requiring twice as much manpower investment. Somebody will ask the question, well, can you give us some examples where this is occurring or how it would be done? I think the best example is in the area of aviation technology. At the end of the 1950s, it was only about 12 years ago, there were approximately 4,500 propeller-driven planes in commercial operation in this country. 4,500 planes like the DC-6, providing for the air movement of people. If we were to provide the level of service today with the same type of aircraft, it would require not 4,500 planes, but about 8,500 planes. And if we were to utilize the DC-3s, it would require 50,000 DC-3s. The number of actual planes in operation today, is, in terms of the jet fleet, is only 3,500. So there are fewer commercial planes flying today than there were a dozen years ago, but they're carrying a vastly increased load. I think that's what we need by trying to get more in the way of technology on the transport system. I think perhaps the aviation areas are more advanced than the other modes, but it does serve a point. We are carrying out research to aid the railroads both in modernizing their present equipment and in developing all new rail systems. Expansion of the present mass transit systems and the construction of new systems are being financed in a number of cities in the country. The need there is to carry large numbers of people quickly and smoothly in and out of urban areas without the massive traffic tie-ups and pollution problems which many cities are now experiencing. Some of the new concepts that are being developed here include what's known as CAF-V, Class Air Carrying Vehicle. This is an exciting concept where rather than vehicle running on a steel wheel running on a steel rail, it's a vehicle operating on a thin cushion of air. And in that regard, we have a test facility out of Pueblo, Colorado, where the Class Air Cushion Vehicle is now being tested. And I think it has some potential, particularly in areas where you need to move large numbers of people quickly. It has a speed potential up to 300 miles an hour, and presently they're operating these in France now on a limited basis with speeds up to 150 miles an hour. So there's a start that's been made on this program at this point of time. I might touch again, dealing with Oklahoma again. The control tower at the Oklahoma City Airport is the most modern in the world, and that's because it is a new generation, the first of its kind, of an air traffic control system. This equipment can handle more planes more safely than any other type of equipment in operation today. When the project is completed, computers will be used to automate the processing of flight information and radar tracking devices to provide aircraft identity and flight information directly on the controller's radar scope. The FAA is also working on the development of air systems known as VSTOL and STOL, vertical and short takeoff and landing craft, which may be used to provide economical regional short-hop air service, where they can take off and land on a very short runway, carrying perhaps up to 100 people in the plane. Now, the second area I'd like to touch on, going from technology, is the area of safety. And I think, without a doubt, this is one of the prime obligations that the Congress has laid on the Department, is the responsibility for safety. And I might add, this is a very strong personal commitment Secretary Volpe has here. He has made it a personal goal he has set out to attempt to reduce the death toll of our present highway death toll by 1/2 by 1980. Now that's a very tall order to try to achieve, particularly when you realize the dimensions of the problem. 1969, there were 56,000 people killed on the highways in this country, causing $15 billion of economic losses. Now, 56,000 people amounts to 150 of our fellow citizens every day killed on the highway. The young men between the ages of 15 and 24, we find that highway fatality is the largest single cause of death. So it's a major national problem. And this is being attacked in two different directions. It sounds like it's the obvious, but it's the unsafe driver and the unsafe car. We find that 50% of all highway accidents involve a drinking driver. So one of our newer programs, called the Alcohol Countermeasure program, is being commenced now, 35 states, expanded to 50 states as soon as the funding is available. But it's developing new methods to deal effectively with the problem drinker, to identify them, and to get them off the highway to the extent possible. We are also working with private industry to develop a safer vehicle. This program, known as the Experimental Safety Vehicle, will eventually bring to the road a car which will protect the lives of the occupants and chassis up to 60 miles an hour. In other words, the individual will be able to walk away from the crash at an impact of 60 miles an hour. I might mention the automobile industry has made great strides in recent years in this direction. I think that this is attainable within a period of perhaps 5 years that we'll see some definite results in this area. I also might mention the work that's going on in our aviation area on aircraft collision avoidance systems, all-weather automatic landing guidance systems. These are all programs that are attempting to safely get the passenger from to wherever he's going. The third area I'd like to comment on is environment, and that's had a great deal of prominence in the press in a number of different stories, as you've undoubtedly seen. I might add, we in the department have been exposed to it to a great deal also, because highways have a way of being a subject of a great number of environmental issues, airports likewise. And there's a great deal that's being done in this area. Also, another area that we've been working on with respect to the environment, I might mention this in connection with your Arkansas River Channel project. As you know, it'll have undoubtedly a heavy traffic in petroleum products. Coast Guard has a program involved in the control and cleaning up of oil spills and other kinds of pollution problems. We are presently developing a national plan to coordinate responses to any major pollution incidents. Regional response centers are being set up to monitor incidents and supervise cleanup operations. Research and development of special cleanup equipment, and one device being tested operates like a giant vacuum cleaner to suck up oil off of the water surface, is being carried out. All transportation construction programs now must be evaluated with an eye toward environmental impact as well as efficiency. Projects which have a negative impact on the environmental system, or on scenic or historic areas, or on the integrity of social units such as an urban neighborhood, are being stopped, or will be stopped, and this is a very different direction that's occurring in this area. These things which I have mentioned, and the many others, are just the beginning, I think, of an effective environmental program. We recognize that much still must be done, but I think the Department of Transportation, along with most citizens, realizes that there must be a proper balance struck between the need for and benefit of a transportation project and the loss of vital human and natural resources. So the third major area, that of environment, is being emphasized strongly today. I think that the leadership which this administration is providing in building toward a better transportation system is typical of the kind of strong leadership that President Nixon is bringing to the overall task of building for a better future for this country. Because I believe this, I would like to digress here for just a moment before closing to make a few general remarks about its new economic program, which, of course, touches not only all of our daily lives, our businesses, all these other aspects. The American economy has been going through massive changes. For almost a decade now, our economy has been, in effect, a wartime economy. If, in fact, the Vietnam War was still being conducted at the 1968 level, unemployment today would be at just about the 4.3% level. But as you know, our role in Vietnam is being rapidly diminished. And right now, there are 2 million fewer Americans involved in the war. 300,000 men are home from Vietnam, and 1,700,000 fewer men and women are employed in defense plants. So the challenge is to make a smooth transition from an inflated war economy to a stable but growing peacetime economy while maintaining full employment for an expanded workforce. That's quite a tall order, but that's what the President's economic policy is attempting to do. As you know, in August, the President announced the far-reaching series of economic measures involving the wage price freeze in the hopes that this would revitalize the American economy. In addition, the steps taken to protect the dollar, both here at home and abroad, were taken. The imposition of the surtax, of the surcharge, the tax incentives taken for the business community, and they were all directed at basic goals of increasing employment, cutting the rate of inflation, and, as I mentioned, defending the dollar. Now, as you know, at the beginning of last month, he further outlined a plan telling the nation that will happen at the end of the 30-day period, and we are now in the first phases of what is known as the post-freeze period. The President told us then, and I quote, I think it's important to bear this in mind, 1972 can be a year in which the American competitive spirit is reborn as we open up new markets, new careers, new job opportunities. We are at the threshold of a greater new era, an age of movement and challenge and change, and we have an unparalleled opportunity to create a better world for ourselves and for our children. I think up to date, the response of the public has been excellent, and I would hope that we could have your continued support in this very vital program, and I appreciate the opportunity to bring this out while I'm talking about transportation, and to also ask for your support in building a better transportation future. I know that working together as Americans is probably the unique thing about our system, meetings of this nature. And I think both the private and business, both the private sector and the government sector can contribute a great deal in making this come true. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to be here, and I certainly enjoyed the chance to see the excellent facilities here, enjoy your fall weather, and although I won't be here in person, undoubtedly watching on TV that historic game on Thanksgiving Day. Thank you.